This is Miss Sebastian, and we're going to look at the rational numbers unit test. So what are the steps to solve this problem? So the first thing I want to do is I want to rewrite this as a number in scientific notation. So I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. So 2.8 times 10, and I moved it to the right, so that's a negative power, divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 times 10 to the negative 6. When I divide these, I do subtract the powers. So negative 5 minus negative 6. Oops, sorry about that. So that would give me x to the first, or 10 to the first. So 2.8 divided by 7 2.8 divided by 7 gives me 0.4. Now, that's not in scientific notation because the number is not between 1 and 9, or 1 and 10. So, I have to move the decimal one spot to the right. Because I did that, I have to subtract 1 from that. So, I get 4 to the 0, which means just the number 1. So, I could say my answer is 4. What is 0.68 written as a simplified fraction? Well, we know that there's a tenths and a hundredths place. So I can rewrite this as a fraction here. I see that both of these are divisible by at least 2. So I'm going to start by dividing both the top and the bottom by 2. If you find a larger number you can divide by, that is fine as well. So 68 divided by 2 is 34. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Oh, I see they're both even numbers, so I can divide by 2 as well. So 34 divided by 2 is 17. And 50 divided by 2 is 25. And that is as far as I can simplify. Miss Johnson's class is having a pizza party. If there are 15 students and 6 pizzas cut into 8 slices, what is the fraction of one pizza that each student receives? Okay, so we've got 6 pizzas cut into 8 slices. So I want to say 6 times 8, that's 48 slices of pizza. There are 15 students, so 15 students divided by 48. So I'm just going to simplify. I know both of these are divisible by 3. So I see that's 5. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So each student receives 5/16 of a pizza. What makes this statement true? 8 to the negative 2 power. Well, I know 8 squared is 64. That negative power there moves this to the bottom of a fraction. So instead of the 64 being a whole number, it is a fraction. In 2009, the total population of North Carolina was 3,245,381. So let me write that real quick. 3, 2, 4, 5, 3, 8, 1. So what was it in scientific notation? So if our decimal is here, we're going to have to end up with it right here because that number is between 1 and 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3.24538, and we move that 6 places because it's a large number going down. It is going to be 10 to the 6th. What is the solution to 2 times 10 to the 4th times 7 times 10 to the 3rd? Well, all you have to do there is multiply the whole numbers. 2 times 7, that gives me 14. And then add the exponents of your tens in scientific notation. So 4 plus 3 gives me 7. But I'm not done yet because 14 is not between 1 and 10. So I've got to move it one spot to the right. So it's a large number, making it smaller. So I'm going to add 1 here. That is 7 plus 1, or 8. So do 1.4 times 10 to the 8th. If there is a third of the pie and Amy only wants 3/4 of it, how much of a pie does she want? So we're going to say 1/3 times 3/4. All we have to do is multiply across the top. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. And we can simplify by dividing both the top and the bottom by 3. And she wants 1/4 of the pie. Ted Andrews bought 13 shares of Clark Company stock at $13.27.5. He sold them a month later at $19.37.5. What was his profit? So the first thing is, let's figure out how much he made on each share. So I'm going to subtract the amount he sold them for minus the amount he paid, because that would be the profit. So 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 7 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. 9 minus 3 is 6. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So he made $6.10 on each share. But he had 13 shares. So now I've got to multiply 13 times 16. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 6 is 18. We put a 0 because we're using the tens place here. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 6 is 6. And we're going to add these together. Put our decimal back where it goes for money. And he made $79.30. What is this number in scientific notation? So, in scientific notation, my decimal has to end up here to make this number between 1 and 10. So I'm going to take my decimal and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots. So it's going to be times 10. And we move to the right, so it's a negative. It is a small number. We're making it bigger by moving that decimal. So it is a negative. So 6.78 times 10 to the negative 6. What is 37/5 written as a decimal? So we're going to divide 5 into 37. So 5 goes into 3 0 times. 5 goes into 37 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. When I subtract, I get a 2. Well, I need a 0 to bring down, so I can add 1 after a decimal. As long as I bring that decimal straight up. 5 goes into 20 4 times. Okay, so that is 7.4. So 37/5 as a decimal is the same as 7 4/10. The 2010 census data for the populations of 3 states is shown below. According to the data, which of the following statements is true? Idaho has a larger population than Florida. Well, I see that Idaho has the least population because it's the one that is multiplied by the smallest amount in scientific notation. Oh, looky there. Idaho has the smallest amount. Okay, because of that 10 to the 6th. The largest would be this one because it's the largest number multiplied by the largest exponent there. So your answer would be this one. What is 3.56 times 10 to the negative 5th? Okay, so we're going to say 3.56. And we're going negative, so we're making this number smaller. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to fill in each of these loops with a 0. So it'll be 0.0000356. Which of the following numbers is an example of an irrational number? Well, remember, an irrational number can be written as a fraction, a decimal, or as a whole number. So I see a whole number here. I see a fraction here. This square root of 25, that's equal to 5. That's a whole number. That counts. Pi can be written as a decimal, but is a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. So that is irrational. So pi is the irrational one. Which number is equivalent to 37 hundredths repeating? So we're going to let x be 37 repeating. And we're going to let 100x be 100 times this, 37.37 repeating. Now we're going to subtract those because we want to get rid of that repeating part. So I'm going to rewrite x here. Okay. So 100x minus 1x, that gives me 99x. The 37 repeating will go away, and we're just left with 37. Now we can solve. We can say 99 is being multiplied by x, so to get rid of it, we divide. And x equals 37/99. Jessica went to the mall and used a third of her money on lunch. What is the fraction of her money expressed as a decimal? So we're going to say 1/3, and we want to change it to a decimal. So we're going to say the denominator into the numerator. So 3 can't go into 1. So I'm going to add a 0. 3 goes into 10 9 times. 1 left over. Sorry, 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, I add another 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. We get a 9. Starting to see a pattern here. 3 goes into 10 3 times. This is going to keep going on and on and on forever. So 1/3 as a decimal is 0.3 repeating because I'm getting the same thing every time. Serena has 5/6 a yard of fabric. To complete her craft project, she needs 4 times that amount. How many yards does she need? So I'm going to write 5/6, and we need 4 times that. So 4 is a whole number, so I can put it over 1. Any whole number you can always put over 1 because 1 goes into 4 times. So you'd still end up with that. So I'm going to multiply. 5 times 4 gives me 20. 6 times 1 is 6. I can simplify this. I can divide both of those by 2. And I do get 20 divided by 2 is 10. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then I need to simplify a little more and put it into a mixed number. 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1 left over. And I put it over the denominator. So she needs 3 1/3 yards of fabric. Negative 2/3 plus negative 5/11. So I need to find the common denominator. I know numbers that 3 and 11 can go into. The only one they have in common is 33. So to get there, I'm going to have to multiply the first fraction by 11 over 11. And the second fraction by 3 over 3. I do that. I make sure the fraction I am multiplying by still leaves that equivalent. So negative 2 times 11 is negative 22. 3 times 11 is 33. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. And 11 times 3 is 33. So now I'm going to add these. Negative 22 plus negative 15 gives me negative 37. And then you leave the denominator. I can simplify that a little. 33 goes into 37 one time with 4 left over. And I do have that negative sign. So negative 1 and 4/33. 8/9 plus negative 4/5. I've got to find a common denominator. And I know that both 9 and 5 go into 45. So to make 45, I have to multiply 9 times 5. If I multiply the bottom by 5, I have to multiply the top by 5. So 8 times 5 is 40. I am adding these, so I want to make sure I put my addition sign there. I want to get to 45, so I have to multiply 5 times 9. If I do it to the bottom, I also have to do it to the top. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. So now I can add. I'm going to add 40 plus negative 36, or 40 minus 36. That'll give me 4, and I bring down my denominator. So 4/45. Okay, 5 1/2 minus 3 4/9. So I'm going to write these over here as 5 1/5 and 3 4/9. The common denominator is going to be 45. So 5, you're going to have to multiply by 9 over 9. And 9, I'm going to have to multiply by 5. So 4 times 5 is 20. 9 times 5 is 45. Because I'm subtracting 9 minus 20, I have to borrow from this 5, the whole number. So I'm going to change that to 4. We've got 45 here. So I'm going to add a 45 over 45. That's the same as 1. So 45 plus 9, that'd be 54. Okay, now I can subtract these. So 54 minus 20 is 34 over 45. And then I've got 4 minus 3. That's 1. So 1 and 34/45. 1/5 times negative 1/3. When you're multiplying, all you have to do is multiply across the top and then multiply across the bottom. So 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 5 times 3 is 15, and that is it. 5/6 times 8/9. All we have to do is multiply across the top and then multiply across the bottom. So 5 times 8 is 40. 6 times 9 is 54. Now I need to simplify that because they're both even numbers. So I'm going to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. And I do get 20 27s. A piece of string is 3 yards long. Okay, how many 1.5 yard pieces can Julie cut from the string? So I'm going to divide 3 by 1.5. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and write 1.5 up here and change it to an improper fraction. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So now I'm going to write 3 as an improper fraction, also 3 over 1. And I'm going to go ahead and change this. Remember, keep the first one, change the divide to a multiply, and flip the second one. Nothing dot flop. Okay? So 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. We can simplify that. 3 goes into 6 2 times. So Julie can cut 2 pieces from the string. 1 3/7 divided by 2 1/4. So I need to change both of these into improper fractions. So the first one, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10. Four times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So now you do nothing to the first one, change the divide to a multiply, and flip the second one. So 10 times 4 is 4, D, 40, and 7 times 9 is 63. What is the difference between an irrational number and an integer? An integer is a positive or negative whole number. An irrational number cannot be put into fraction form. Whereas an integer is a fraction over 1. Because any integer can go over 1 and it's in a fraction form.